But I think it's a very important point that what we want to awaken within our listeners is really this understanding. Like you said, there's always something that I can do. Not to be confused with, there is always something that I can do to change it completely. And I think
people are kind of like all or nothing mentality when it comes to this.
Especially when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or in fear. The thought is, okay, can I think of anything that will change this completely? I don't think sometimes you have to think in that way, but usually on a day-to-day basis, you want to think about, is there something that I could do to change it a little bit? And that little bit leads to another little bit, and so on.
Yes. And I just thought about that Bob the Builder show, which I've talked about before. I'm very inspired by it.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, because he's a fixer, right? Okay. He doesn't go around saying, we're going to fix this. Instead, he asks the question, how will I fix this? Because that sends something a signal to the brain that now is looking for a solution. So I just think it's like as simple as Bob asking a question.
It's just so, because I think about so many times in our lives, my own life, where you're having either conflict or just a negative interaction. It could be with a friend, with a family member. And again, your mind goes to, and not everything's it won't change one way or the other if I have one conversation. True. But you have to have that one conversation. Then you can have the 5th and the 10th and the 20th. I think it's such a powerful and often missed way to really grow. Change the mindset from, will this change everything?
I mean, you're talking about growth, which
fixing.
But I'm just saying, even like
fixing,
living a life that's working for you, right?
Right.
And from that place, then you're inspired to grow. But if you really think that you have no free will and no ability to change a circumstance or a view or perspective of your experience of life, well, then that's exactly where you're going to live.
And we often have this conversation because my general view of life is, first of all, that there aren't many things that really bother me in the long term. And I believe everybody has their own path. So often we'll have a conversation about somebody or something, somebody said something, somebody did something, and you're like, we need to talk to them, and there should be a conversation. And I'm like, there was actually an old...
I'm trying to see how I feel about what you're saying right now.
No, I'm saying I'm wrong and you're right.
No, so that's what you're saying.
There's an old Yiddish phrase my parents would often use, which is either it won't help or it's unnecessary. That's the basic translation. And the idea, and that's often my view in life.
That's one Yiddish phrase?
Yeah, either it won't help or it's unnecessary, right? So often when I hear about somebody doing something that might be negative or might not be right, I sort of say, first of all, it doesn't really bother me, and second of all, it's their process. Let them go through it. But you often say, no, a conversation needs to be had. Because in my mind, what I often say is, I don't believe one conversation is going to change this person's nature for life. And their answer is, of course, that's true. But still, you see something, you say something.
Try.